Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. Daniel Bryan is gone, and Edge is clearly nowhere in sight. But still, Roman Reigns and the Universal Championship and the whole main event scene on SmackDown is the must-see thing of the WWE. It was the most interesting thing on tonight's show. Definitely worth watching as they pulled some very tricky maneuvers on tonight's show. But the rest of the show and everything outside of the Universal Championship, not so much. Pretty much missable, very lazy, and an uninspired throwback edition of SmackDown. Well, this SmackDown throwback down made me want to throw up on a number of occasions tonight. Nothing is perfect, but hey, at least it's better than Monday Night Raw. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown review and reaction show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
You know, these gimmicky throwback shows, they always do the same thing, right? They put the old school graphics up. They do the old school style intro. We had these still picture graphic match cards and all of this real nostalgic stuff, and I don't really mind it. It's cool to see. But really, that's all it was graphical overlays and nothing really throwback about this episode, with the exception of the appearance of Teddy Long and multiple times where we took TV time to look back on famous moments of SmackDown, from when Triple H won his WWE Championship to other times that they've highlighted all across this show to fill time, because they had nothing else on their minds but what they were going to accomplish with the Universal Championship. They had to come up with content somewhere, and they can't come up with anything new and original that's any good, so you might as well go back to some classic moments from the past, featuring moments with Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, and so much more. And it's always fun to see those things, and it's always fun to be nostalgic and to go back and throw back, if you will, like they like to say. But honestly, it only makes me want to go back literally, because this show is not what it used to be. This is nowhere near what it was back in the days of the SmackDown 6, when Teddy Long was really running the show. And it's sad. It makes me sad. It makes me long for the old days. Like, they do stupid things now in the WWE where they heard the rumors all week long that we were all speculating, are they going to change the set? Are they going to bring back those weird SmackDown ovals? Are they going to bring back the fist? Right? When do you ever want to be fisted by the WWE, right? Well, we did collectively, most of us this week, and they failed to deliver on that, because they didn't go up to Stamford and take it out of the archives or whatever secret place that they keep all their stuff and bring the fist down to the Thunderdome and put it up just for one night, because that's too much work and probably costs too much money. So what they did was they had a computer graphic digital image made, you know, those really cringy 3D things that they've been putting up for all the superstars. That's how they gave us the SmackDown fist. So they gave us a fisting in another way. This one was much more painful than the one we were pretty much expecting. It was just cringy, and it really didn't add anything much to this show. Really just another episode of Suckdown, with one major difference being the huge return rather, of Jimmy Uso, which set things off in a whole different direction for Roman Reigns as the head of the table. The Universal Championship is going to be defended at Backlash against Cesaro, and instead of, giving Cesaro that, Daniel Bryan treatment, or having Daniel Bryan in his corner, since he's now banished from SmackDown for all time, Jimmy Uso comes back to bolster the roster for Roman Reigns against Cesaro, seemingly. Right now, what they did tonight with this was very good. It was compelling. You had this real weird family dynamic going on. You have drama. You got Jey Uso caught in the middle, seemingly, of this very strange power struggle now between Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso by the end of this episode. And now that's all well and good, but they really jumped all in on this thing right from the get-go. It's not how I would have done it. I would have had Jimmy come back, and I would have had him embraced by Roman, brought into the family as he did in tonight's episode. But instead of having it all go to shit by the end of the episode, you use this as a way to get Jey Uso even more over. Because, yeah, he's been main event Jey Uso, but when was the last time Jey Uso won a match that wasn't the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? Right? So now you can have Jimmy be the catalyst. You have Jimmy be the reason why now Jey Uso starts winning singles matches. Jimmy maybe comes in, he starts winning singles matches. He earns himself a main event moniker, and now they're the main event Usos together, and they go and they get the World Tag Team Championship. Everything is great on the aisle of the head of the table. The big dog's really happy about everything, and it's smooth, and everything's going good. They got all the gold, and Roman is happy, man, and everything is great. And that's when you burn everything to the ground. That's when you maybe have Roman be the reason. Maybe he gets in Jey Uso's ear. Maybe he's telling Jey, you weren't winning until Jimmy comes around. Maybe Jimmy's the real all-star here. You've been with me since day one, but you ain't been as nearly as good as Jimmy has been. And then he can get over in Jimmy's ear and maybe play them against each other. And that could be a good reason to have them lose the tag team championships. And then they could be blaming each other. And then you have Jimmy snap out of it, have him get over as the babyface, and have Jey stay loyal to Roman for a little while as the brother redemption story can play out even further. You got about 6 to 8 months of quality storytelling if you go that angle, but you did it all in one night, and you went right off to the races. And now, despite the fact that he came back, he subverted everybody's expectations. And Jimmy Uso started this night fully aligned with Roman and the Tribal Chiefs family, or tribe for lack of a better word. But by the end of the night, things got extremely, extremely complicated. This was because tonight on SmackDown, it would open up with Roman Reigns coming out talking about how he got rid of Daniel Bryan. They showed the recap last week, of course, of everything that happened. Daniel Bryan is banned. He is barred from SmackDown, and they did a mock eulogy. Paul Heyman was made to eulogize the career of Daniel Bryan. And then they did a 10-bell salute, but Paul Heyman was like, "We don't need you, Mr. Ring Bell Ringer Man. I'm just going to ding myself as if I was a gigantic human bell," which he might be bell-shaped, but he's not actually a bell. But in this scenario, Paul Heyman played the part of the ring bell. And as he's counting off the 10 dings, he's trying not to laugh. Roman Reigns is trying not to laugh. And it was very amusing. And I had no idea where it was going, but this would prompt Cesaro to come out and interrupt Roman Reigns and his good time. Because Roman Reigns went on to say that he was going to replace Daniel Bryan. He found a replacement for Daniel Bryan. He introduced Jimmy Uso, who came out. He hugged his brother. He hugged Roman Reigns. He shook hands with Paul Heyman. And then Cesaro would come out and be like, "You can't replace Daniel Bryan. He's irreplaceable. You can't do that. It's not possible." But before that could get any more traction underneath it, Seth Rollins came out and jumped Cesaro from behind, because for some reason he still has to get through Seth Rollins before he goes for this Universal Championship that he pretty much already had, because there was nowhere else for them to go. But just to make it a little bit more official, holla, 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 player, they had Teddy Long on this show, not to announce a tag team match at first, but to announce that if Cesaro wins his match tonight against Seth Rollins, which was already pre planned. The stakes have been raised because Cesaro will get the Universal title shot, guaranteed, at Backlash. And Teddy Long was certain to tell everybody Adam Pearce gave him this power. But I'm still waiting to find out who gave Adam Pearce the power. But Teddy Long, I didn't mind him around. It was fine. And he would have a little bit more to do and say on this show. But Roman Reigns would then attack Cesaro from behind. Seth Rollins would throw him into the steps, and we would go to commercial before Seth Rollins would fight Cesaro in what was a very, very good match. These guys always have good matches. They have good chemistry, and it was given a nice amount of time. But in the end, the finish was the usual WWE weird, I'm going to interfere type finish scenario. But they did it in order to protect Seth Rollins. I understand that. As with the Usos still at ringside, they definitely played a part in the finish. We had Seth Rollins go to the outside. He would interact with Jimmy and Jay Uso, and he would yell that he's not Roman Reigns, to stay out of his business. But then there was a moment where Jimmy Uso threw Seth Rollins back into the ring after he was super kicked in the face by Jay Uso. And he would be scooped up then and be hit with the neutralizer and lose this match to Seth Rollins, giving him the guaranteed shot at Roman Reigns, which is definitely not what the two of them were out there to do. So they failed the big dog by not executing the plan, which was probably to prevent Cesaro from getting this title match, right? But instead, they got in the business of Seth Rollins and they ruined everything. And this was not going to play out very well for the brothers by the end of the night. It was a good match, but these wonky finishes, we get them so much that we're almost immune to them, but there was no other way to do that and not have Seth Rollins come out looking like a big loser. So they're trying to keep everybody strong. They had no choice but to do it this way. I'm fine with it for now, but definitely the most interesting thing going on SmackDown right now is the Usos and Roman Reigns. And does Cesaro stand a chance? Absolutely not. He's going to give us a good match, but there's no way he's going to beat Roman at Backlash. It's just not going to happen. So then we go to an old WrestleMania theme from the 80s where they showed Stone Cold Steve Austin beating up Booker T in the supermarket from back in 2001 on SmackDown. This was fun to see these moments. Again, I wish they would make new moments like this, but since you can't, at least we get to see them again on these episodes like we had tonight. Teddy Long was with Sonya Deville in the back. She's all happy to be running SmackDown with Teddy Long. I guess it's, I would be happy too. It's kind of historic to be running it with one of the SmackDown's most famous and probably most influential managerial figureheads that they have ever had. And this is where we got the announcement of the main event 10-man tag team tonight, and they tried to go a little bit funny with it. Sami Zayn got involved. Nobody really cares about Sami Zayn right now, and it's kind of amusing at points. But Teddy Long said he was going to give Sami Zayn a match against The Undertaker, but then Sami's like, no, Undertaker's retired, and he's like, well, then we're going to have a 10-man tag team match, and he said one of Sami Zayn's partners is going to be King Booker. And then Sonya's like, no, it's King Corbin, and now I've already don't give a shit. It's bad enough you're giving me a multi-man tag team match that isn't going to mean dog shit to everybody involved, but you're involving Constable King Dickhead. Down the tubes, this match went in a hurry. When we seen all of the competitors in this match, it's even made worse by the fact that they threw the Intercontinental Champion in here with his rivals, and it's just because they have no idea where to go with this feud. They have no more story to tell. He has Commander Yabba Zabba Dabba Doo with him. He's still going to be feuding with Big E. They're having the rematch at Backlash. So they just phoned one in today. Let's just throw them in a multi-man match. Everybody we don't know what the fuck to do with, let's throw them in a 10-man, make it a main event, and call it a night. Because that's what happened tonight on SmackDown. Definitely worthy possibly of a poop hammer, but one thing that definitely gets a poop hammer will be Carmella defeating Ruby Riott. This was very short. This was very unnecessary. Why are we wasting time right now giving Carmella meaningless wins over Ruby Riott? Shouldn't it be the opposite way? Hasn't Carmella had enough time? She's not gotten over. Why don't you put somebody else over? Let's let Ruby Riott have a shot at something for once. I mean, at least they found her and decided to use her. Since they're not going to use her and live in the tag team division, since they're, a legit tag team, why would you want to do that? That would only make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? But they don't do that. They put Ruby in a singles match to lose to Carmella in like 2 to 3 minutes. Taps out to her little code of silence submission. And it was over. Unnecessary. We didn't need this. And if you were going to do it, you should have picked the other girl to win. I'm tired of seeing Carmella. It takes her more time to do her weird little shadow dance in the beginning of her entrance to have an actual match. And is she that good to be having matches like this? I don't know. But it's not doing any good for the women's division. And we would roll on to the next segment being another women's division segment. It was a Bayley segment where Bayley was out there and she was cutting a promo. I'm surprised they didn't have her doing her ding dong hello shit. I don't understand why they didn't set it up for her and have her do it there. But maybe they're done with it because, they change their mind on shit from week to week all the time. Vince McMahon's probably done with it. I don't really think she even said the phrase in her little diatribe she had tonight as she ran down everybody in the history of the women's division. She talked about Alundra Blaze and Jacqueline and Lita and Trish and Ivory and Beth Phoenix and Molly Holly and how she praised them all, but tore them down all as well, saying that she's the longest reigning champion in SmackDown's women's history. Her title reign was longer than all of their title reigns combined. And I'm wondering what any of this has to do with Bianca Belair. And Bianca would finally come out. She would make her way to the ring. She says she's living her best life. It's only going to get better at Backlash. And Belair appreciates Bayley's concern, but she thinks she should just be worried about herself because she's on her way to becoming the longest reigning SmackDown's women's champion, implying that she's going to break Bayley's record, to which Bayley started laughing in Bianca's face. And I don't agree with what Bianca said here, but I definitely wouldn't be laughing in her face about it. I don't think Bianca Belair has a chance on being the champion for over a year, the way Vince McMahon changes his mind, and being that there's really nowhere else to go with it other than to have a rematch with Sasha where she'll probably get her win and her title back, and that Bayley's just a pit stop along the way. I just don't see that happening. I wish that would happen. I think it would be great if it happened, but what are we going to see along the way? Just Bayley versus Sasha and Bayley versus Bianca and Bianca versus Sasha for the next year? Because who else is ready? Nobody. This is only the second of 3 women's segments on the night that didn't really do very much. This, while I'm interested and is between Bianca and Bayley's match, it's going to be a good match. These girls are going to have a great match, probably. Match quality wise, it's going to be great, but there's really just no story that they're telling here. I don't even know why Bayley just has been given a championship match. She just stepped up, challenged Bianca, and now here we are, and she's getting a title match. And does it make any sense? No. They actually were more intense with each other on the build-up towards WrestleMania, and the match wasn't even for Bayley. She had that little mini feud with Bayley when she was called up, and they were doing all those weird challenges against each other, and there was some thought put into any of that, but they kept making Bianca lose along the way, which was kind of stupid. But still, there was more to that than there is to this. It's like the title's up for grabs, and all of a sudden, there you have no story at all. Why do we need a story? The title's there. It's for the title. What story do you need? We don't need more story. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. So, while I'm interested in seeing the match, because I think it's going to be a great match, I really don't care. You want to talk about story, you got to talk about what they were doing with the Usos. All night long, we would go back to some of the family drama. As Roman Reigns was talking to Jimmy and Jay together in the dressing room, he was absolutely furious. He was so pissed off that they helped Cesaro win this match. And this got really intense and really uncomfortable really quickly. He said that he and Jay had a good thing going on, but now he let Jimmy be a part of it. He brought him back. He brought him in here, implying that now he's the reason why everything's going to shit tonight. But then Jimmy Uso stood up for himself. He told Reigns he ain't going to talk to me like you talk to Jay, and told him I ain't nobody's bitch. Stood up to Roman Reigns and then walked out. Reigns then told Jay, said, yo, better go talk to your cousin, man. And Jay would go and find him a little bit later on. Jay approached Jimmy Uso and wanted to know if everything that Jimmy said in the back to Roman was true. Jimmy got right in Jay's face and said that the reason Roman is the Universal Champion is because of Jay Uso. He says, you talk about doing things for family. He's like, but they're family too. And he's asking for his brother to come and be with him right now. He talked about them becoming tag team champions again. Said that everything that Roman does is for Roman. Everything that Jay does is for Roman. And that he's not doing anything for the family that they can't do for themselves. A lot more great real family drama that's happening here, although it's happening a little bit too fast, as we talked about at the open of this show. Jimmy then kind of walked away, told Jay to think about that, and we would go on to see a throwback moment once again. We would see June 27th, 2002, John Cena versus Kurt Angle. This was the Ruthless Aggression debut of John Cena. Then we had a really ridiculous matchup. We had the giant baby son of Rey Mysterio, Mr. Tiny Dad himself, Dominic Mysterio, taking on one half of the World Tag Team Champion, Dirty Dizzogs, Dolph Ziggler, and Dominic Mysterio won this match. But you know what? There are two reasons why you automatically know why I hate this. One is because you shouldn't be having champions lose. I hate it. I hate that strategy. It's how they justify their challengers getting championship shots. And it just is ridiculous. It's an overused thing that they do as well. The other reason why I didn't enjoy this so much is, yes, Dominic got the win. They're trying to build up Dominic Mysterio. And I guess they're definitely leading towards this father-son become the champions thing. But the way Dominic was featured tonight was, I think, terrible. He should have had much more offense. He got very little off. Dolph Ziggler looked like he was beating up a little boy in that ring tonight. And if not for his own arrogance and his own stupidity, he would have not been rolled up. The most devastating maneuver in all of pro wrestling, the roll-up or small package, and would end up losing to Dominic Mysterio. Now, Dominic Mysterio has been in the ring on multiple occasions. We've seen him in the ring. We know that he could do things. He has performed at a WrestleMania, and he should be featured in a better angle. In a better angle than this, because why should they be fighting the Dirty Dogs? Nobody wants to fight the Dirty Dogs, even for championships. It's just ridiculous, repetitive nonsense. And they're doing it just to give the father son the championships. Come on, Dad, let's go get the titles. Let's go do it, my son, my only big, gigantic, huge son. I don't care. So this exists. Dominic Mysterio beat Dolph Ziggler, but he beat him by the skin of his teeth, and it was just ridiculous. We then had another great moment of this throwback thing was that they showed the commercial for the WWF ice cream bars. And on a few occasions tonight, we heard Lord Alfred Hayes' promotional consideration paid for by the following on a few moments of the night, which just gave me kind of chills and goosebumps because I loved Lord Alfred Hayes. He was one of the best personalities the WWE has ever had, and it's hard for anybody to come close to him. And the 80s commercial for the ice cream bars pissed me off because I've tried the new ones that they put out and they suck. They're shit. They don't taste anything like the old ones. The cookie is flaky and crumbly, and the ice cream melts the minute you open the package. I do not endorse the new ones, but these old ones, man, if they ever really brought them back and used the original recipe, it would be the greatest thing that I think has ever happened to pro wrestling. Outside of maybe the return of CM Punk, it would be the biggest thing that would be over universally because they were so fucking good. You could watch in the commercial with Hacksaw and you could see them take the bite and it's just so good. My memory tells me they were so amazing. And these new little fucking sandwich squares, you take them out of the wrapper, you don't even see the superstar anymore. He's all stuck to the plastic. Awful. Awful. We then had to see a recap, of course, of Tamina and Natalya beating Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler in the non-title match last week. And then they showed a promo that Tamina cut on Talkin' Smack where she was very passionate, was full of a lot of fire, and was pretty intense. But the fact that this is all about a match she's going to have with Reginald, there are no words. There are just no words because you're talking about the worst women's division in all of wrestling, and this is one of the reasons why. Because not only are you booking Tamina to wrestle a man, that's not essentially the problem. The problem is that this man is nobody. He means absolutely nothing. He's Nia Jax's little personal gopher right now, her little main squeeze, I guess, for some godforsaken reason. So she's going to have this match with Reginald here tonight. And if you're going to do it, then do it. And have Tamina beat the snot out of this fucking guy and be done with it. Don't do your stupid typical disqualification outside interference shit. Why are you protecting Reginald from losing to Tamina? If you were serious about building Tamina, you should have had her rip his fucking dreads right out of his head, tell him to stop looking like R-Truth, and go back to developmental when he's got something good for television. Stop wearing stupid suits like Seth Rollins and get your shit together. But no, instead, of course, we have to have Nia get involved and pull Reginald out of the way, and Shayna Baszler pushes Tamina off the top, and all of this is setting up a championship match for Natty and Tamina next week on SmackDown versus Jackson Baszler. Again, much like we just had to see them in a rematch of the championship for the tag team division of say I can't even speak about it. It's just so fucking awful. We had to see Lana and Naomi versus Jackson Baszler. We have to see all the same teams over and over again, and this is just ongoing since before WrestleMania. This push for Tamina and Natty, and it's not going to go anywhere. And the involvement of Reginald just makes me shake my head. I just don't care. Reginald made a promise to defeat Tamina tonight, and Reginald should be counting his lucky stars that he's even on this show because he's absolutely worthless. Just like a 10-man tag team matchup that means absolutely nothing. The most interesting thing about this 10-man tag was the promos that preceded it. In the lead up before the main event, we had a little congregation of the heels in the back. We had Apollo Crews, Otis, Chad Gable, Sami Zayn, and Constable King Dickhead. They're talking about their match. They're hyping everybody up. Apollo Crews is praising everybody on his team, but didn't have anything nice to say about Sami Zayn, which I get it. It's comedy, it's funny, but what is the point of all of this? It was giving me some real Survivor Series vibes watching this. And then, especially when we got the opposing team and their promo, where you got Big E and Shinsuke and Kevin Owens and the Street Profits, and they're cutting a real hype, real happy, real New Day style promo. Shinsuke screaming, the Street Profits are smoking, and everything is going according to plan, and it just is all for what? It's all for what? It's for a meaningless 10-man tag team match. It was a good match as far as the action is concerned. I mean, look at the amount of talent that is in that ring, except for Corbin and Commander Yabba Zabba Deeba Dabba D's nuts. Commander Yabba Dabba D's nuts. Whatever. We'll make up new names for him every week if we have to. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care any more than I cared about this 10-man tag team match. To make it even worse, it's bad enough that we're watching this match. We didn't have Apollo Crews pin Big E. You know, we didn't have the Intercontinental Champion pin Kevin Owens. We didn't have the Intercontinental Champion pin anybody, despite the fact that his team was going to be the winning team, which naturally you would think, since he kind of took the captain's role, you would want to highlight him out of everybody on the team. Give him the rub. Give him the win. Let him pin somebody, even if it was one of the Street Profits, the Intercontinental Champion, the most valuable person in this match, should have been given the opportunity to win this match, especially when his team was planned to win this match. But instead, they give the win to Constable King Dickhead. He goes out there, he hits the end of days on Shinsuke Nakamura to end this match. This, what was a very good tag team match, but it was pointless. It meant nothing. Nobody got over. So why did we just watch this? To see everybody do their little high spots? To see the brawl that was going to break out? I mean, it was okay at best. But it's just another multi-man tag team match. They do them so often that I just did no reason to be invested in it. There was nothing at stake. It wasn't an elimination match. It's just a way to waste time till we can get to what's important, which was further pushing the Roman Reigns, Jay, and Jimmy Uso story. Before we got to this final segment, Roman Reigns was speaking to Jay Uso in the dressing room. He talked about everything that they have accomplished up until this point on SmackDown and said that now they deal with Jimmy out there in the ring. And that's what we were going to do, and we were going to finish this night with the Universal Champion Paul Heyman and Jay Uso in the ring. He began to talk, but he was immediately interrupted by Jimmy Uso, who came out there, and he didn't even want to talk to Roman Reigns. He just wanted to know where Jay Uso was going to stand in all of this. Jimmy then decided to show clips from Hell in a Cell last October because he wanted to remind Jay Uso that the only reason Jay wouldn't quit, or the only reason that Jay ended up quitting, is because Jimmy jumped in the ring and Jay quit to save Jimmy Uso in that matchup. And then Jimmy got in Roman Reigns' face and told him that he wouldn't have quit. And that might have been hard for Jay Uso to say. He said, "Don't get offended, Us, but I wouldn't have quit." Meaning that I wouldn't have stood there and quit to even save you. Which is kind of weird. Right? But then Reigns made note. He said, if Jimmy doesn't want to fall in line and acknowledge him, Roman's got this thing about everybody acknowledge me. Right? And he wants Jimmy to acknowledge him on top of the throne at the head of the table. Then he can just go home. He brought him back here. He gave him the opportunity to be part of this. He gave him everything. But you can go home and watch SmackDown with your kids. Again, bringing the kids in just to turn the knife even more. Jimmy then turned around, he jumped out of the ring, started to walk up the ramp, but then stopped. Jay would follow after his brother up the aisle. He would try to talk some sense into Jimmy, talking about it. Just listen, just acknowledge him, man. Just do the right thing. Come back into the ring and do this. But things got quickly out of hand. As he was trying to convince Jimmy to align with him, Cesaro jumped Roman Reigns from behind while the brothers were at it in the aisleway. Jay immediately was going to go and help his cousin, but Jimmy kind of pulled him back for a second to try to stop him from getting in there and saving Roman Reigns. But then Jay finally made it to the ring, but Cesaro got in his face and beat him down too. Jimmy jumped in the ring to save Jay, but he would end up getting rocked with a pop uppercut as well. He then gave Jay the neutralizer. He picked up Roman Reigns and hit a neutralizer on him as well. As Michael Cole was going crazy, talking about, oh, Cesaro just proved he could beat Roman Reigns. And that's not at all what he did, but he definitely proved that he could stand on his own and he don't need Daniel Bryan or anybody in his corner. And he's got everything under control as he gets set to take on the champion for the title at Backlash. I will not call it WrestleMania Backlash. It is simply Backlash to me. The WrestleMania part, as we talked about last week, is already implied. And I don't know who made this decision to promote it this way, but it is what it is, I guess. This, based off of the Roman Reigns drama with his family, was an entertaining episode, to say the least, but the rest of this show was just filler and nonsense. I don't know why Edge is gone. You would think on a throwback edition you would want one of the older guys on the roster to be there, right? You would think Edge would give a lot to the show. Pat McAfee dressed up like Vince McMahon from the 80s, and Michael Cole dressed up like a 90s version of himself. It was unnecessary, but I am really into what they're doing with the family and Roman Reigns. Outside of that, a whole bunch of poop hammer shit and nothing else really to look forward to. Now we're going to get back to business next week. We go to regular SmackDown, so all the nostalgia bugs that made you maybe feel a little better about this show tonight will be gone, and we will be back to normal suck down territory as we are going to have a go home show for Backlash, where the card actually is, outside of Roman versus Cesaro, is pretty much just going to be rematch after rematch after rematch and a triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship that we don't want to see. Speaking of not seeing, if you missed the Raw review, it'll be up in the annotations up above, along with anything else I have up on the channel. We are working on something a little special. If you're fans of Resident Evil, we picked up Resident Evil The Village. It's right here. It's right here. And it's green. So the box looks invisible and clear on the green screen, but it's not. But I played it today. I recorded some footage. I'm editing it right now. I'm hoping to put it up on YouTube over the weekend. Hopefully it doesn't get content struck or copyright claimed or any fancy way you want to talk about it. But as long as it doesn't, you should be seeing that on the channel this weekend. If it does, maybe I'll try to find a way to upload it somewhere else, maybe on Twitch, or break it down into parts and put it up on Instagram. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully nothing happens and we can put it up on the channel, as I took my first voyage into the village of Resident Evil 8. It's the first time I ever really played anything and recorded anything, so it'll be interesting to see your reactions. And if it goes up and you enjoy it, you got to let me know by hitting that like button like you can do right now for this episode. And, of course, leaving comments and letting me know whether I should do more or not. So I look to you guys and look forward to seeing that. If you don't see it, obviously, then it's because we got copyright content issues, and I will work to get around that as much as I possibly can. But hopefully that's not an issue, and we'll see you for that later on this weekend. It was interesting. It was interesting, but I don't think I even made it to the title screen before we ended up dying, and we played a good solid half an hour into this game. But I'm not very good. Anyway, so, maybe normal people could have blew through what I did in 30 minutes in 5. I don't fucking know. I haven't watched anybody else play just yet. But I'll be roaming through the village and I'll be recording as much of it as I can and hopefully getting it for you guys to see. And I hope to see you there when it's up and ready to go. Best way to make sure you don't miss that, if you're still here and you had a good time here today, make sure you are subscribed, because Sledge Nation is always accepting new members into the Sledgehammer army, and it starts with you. So hit that subscribe button. Make sure you share this video with any of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need a place to come and vent their frustrations about pro wrestling. The comment section is always live. Don't forget to leave me your comments as well. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Smackdown review, as we are headed towards Backlash and the go-home shows, which are usually the worst shows right before a pay-per-view. And Raw's been so bad, I can't imagine how much worse it can actually get. But it's gotten way worse with Eva Marie. So, God, careful what you wish for. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Blue the Yeti microphone. He is still the champ, even though you don't see the belt. He's still the heavyweight champion of all the microphones in all the world. The most important member of this team, as always, each and every one of you. Thank you again for coming out. That's going to do it, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.
Thanks, Vince. Oh.